Welcome to the show where we explore the who, what, where, how, and why of the extraordinary people that define our north of normal metro. I'm Conrad Fargo, and this is the Fargo Five. Today we've got Michael Koska. I didn't ask you how to pronounce your last name. Michael Koska? Koska? How do you say that?
No, you nailed it the first time. Yeah, Koska.
All right, and then you can actually grab that mic by the hand, just manhandle it all you like to bring it right where you want. You can push it right into your face there. Thank you so much. Now, I like to start by saying how I know you, which is a little interesting because I don't know you at all. These are my favorite kinds of interviews. My wife sometimes looks up guests for me, and she is very interested in private schooling for our young daughter. She's 6 years old. She's very bright. And so she was looking at private schools. She saw you guys had an event. So she's like, oh, you should reach out to these guys. Tried to reach out to you guys like a bunch of times. We dropped the ball on that. But eventually I got you by the scruff, and we got it figured out. Got you on the show. Now we don't really talk about the event so much, and it's more just the who, what, where, how, and why. So why don't we get this started by you go ahead, introduce yourself, tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so we started Odyssey FM in Moorhead, Minnesota, and it's basically just a school that's kind of unlike any other things. It's alternative education. The biggest way we got started was just my wife. I had been in education for 4 years and said, you know what, I'm going to go back, learn about computers. Let's do computer science. And at the perfect time, she asked me the question of like, what would you think about starting a school? And that was like right before we were about to go to bed. And I was like, yeah, drop that one on me. And usually I'm analytical about everything. I'm like, how are we going to do this? Like, what's the steps? And I was like, yeah, no, that's a good idea. And we started going through it and took a 2-year process to get everything up and going. And through Acton Academy, it's a network that has about 300 to 400 schools. We signed up and went through the audition, pitched ourselves like, this is why we're perfect for this, and this is why it's perfect for our community. And they gave us the green light, use their stuff and use their processes. And it's a great community. So that's kind of how things got rolling. And we opened up this last fall. So it's been awesome.
Great. So what you said we started. Is that you and your wife, or how many people are owners, or who are the principals of something like this?
So yeah, it is just me and my wife right now. So I'm there full time, and then she's kind of behind the scenes. She's way more talented at a lot of things that I am not talented. I can't market. I can't do a lot of the things where it's like, get out there and make things look pretty. And she has that in her background with the wedding photography stuff and a lot of other things. So
you're the owner. You're the when I say principal, I don't mean like of school. But obviously also the principal of the school. But and then the person who's running it. How many grades are there? Like what exactly is Odyssey FM? Because I don't know anything about it.
So there's two sections right now. There's Sparks, which are about 5 to 7 years old roughly. It's kind of just based on like where you are at in your own journey. And then there's the older Discovery learners, and they're 8 to 11 right now. So it's kind of like through 5th grade right now, and we're going to grow by a grade every year is the goal. And so for the most part, that's kind of the two sections. It's more group learning where they can piggyback off each other, teach each other stuff, and kind of go from there.
So you're running a school that's full of 5 to 10-year-olds.
Yep.
Like that's basically, I don't mean to boil everything down, but that's kind of my job, is to be the reductionist in the room.
Yeah.
So you've got a school, a bunch of 5 to 10-year-olds. How many kids are running around every day?
8 this first year. Yep.
8 kids. Oh, yeah. That's quite small. That's a lot smaller than I was even imagining.
Yeah, it's super small by design. It's kind of a micro school. So the first year we wanted a proof of concept. Year 2, grow, try to go double. Year 3, double that again. So, and then I think the cap is about 50 for a lot of them. So it's getting in early, making sure you kind of get the processes right, and then go from there, because you don't want to throw 30 people in here. And just watch a jungle happen right away.
And how many years has this been going on now? This is
the first year. Yep.
This is the first year. You guys are just launching with 8 enterprising kids whose parents have put their most precious commodity in your hands.
Yeah,
that's that's something else. So what is your day? So they're 2 separate classes then.
Yeah.
So your day to day, what is that like? You're getting up. You're getting dressed. Is this normally what you wear? Like just kind of the business casual kind of thing?
Yeah, business casual.
You drive in there and you say, all right, let's get the show on the road. Like, what's it look like with a bunch of 5 to 10-year-olds? Like, how many rooms is it? You park, you walk in, like, paint a story for me.
Yeah, so when I walk in, basically, a lot of it's prepping ahead of time, making sure that they have everything that they need so that when they walk in, they can achieve everything that they need to. So I post the challenges and stuff that we're going to do for the day and make sure that they're aware of it, what's going on. So the first part of the day, we start with the launch every time, and that's the most important time. Get the energy going, ask them questions, let them lead if they can. A lot of times that's where we go. I let the discovery age learners, they lead the launch a lot of the time. So what that is it's and imagine this story, right? Imagine you're working with, a very talented individual, but he's hard to work with, right? But you could learn so much. What do you do? What are the next steps, right? And so that's really something that we kind of work on from there. And there's different.
And that's the kind of question. The launch is like a hypothetical.
Yeah, it's a hypothetical.
You feed the kids.
Yeah.
And then they run with it, and they just do the problem solving all day.
Yeah, so it's and it's usually boiled down to about 2 or 3 or 4 questions where it's like, would you do this, this, or this, and why, right? And that's really what it's about. So today it's like, how do you want to be remembered, right? We're kind of finishing up the year. How do you want to be remembered? Imagine you're 19 years old. You've left Odyssey. How do you want everybody to talk about you? Is it more that you want to be the fun person or the hardworking person, or is it that you wanted to be the person that was cheering everybody on? And so there's a lot of very, character building where they actually have to think about it. And it's not like, it's not the whole point of this is to not make something that's just a Hail Mary, like, oh, this is the answer. This is the, the Sunday school answer is kind of to say, everybody's just waiting to hear that, right? There's choices, and they have to really actually think about it.
Wow. So are you so I'm trying to picture this because this isn't like school. We were talking a little bit beforehand, the Prussian model, right, where you come in, you sit down, the bell rings, the teacher's at the front, and they just like talk at you all day, and you have to ask permission to go to the bathroom, yada, 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 right, like the whole thing. Yeah. This isn't like that at all.
Not like that at all. So it is so much about me getting as small as I possibly can, letting them take over. So they set a lot of their own rules. And, I mean, sometimes they're arbitrary. As an adult, you're kind of like, if someone steals your spot, what do you do, right? Like, I was sitting there 2 minutes ago, you just took it. Naturally, it's like, okay, I'll get up. It's yours. Sorry, I didn't mean to sit here, right?
Yeah.
They have got, they fought over it, and I just watch them and sit back. And they set a town hall. We do a town hall every Friday, so they can talk about the rules, what's going good, what's going bad.
All 8 kids.
All 8 kids, yeah. So, I mean, they vote on it. Okay, we don't want, if you're sitting in a spot and you get out for 5 minutes, you can claim it back at any time, right? It used to be like I'd have to set my book there or something. And now it's like it's just an honor system. If I said it was 5 minutes ago, trust me and stuff like that. So they built on it, but it's some of the most arbitrary things where you're like, it seems so little to us, but it makes a big deal because they're trying to figure out where they lay on power with each other and giving in. I'm like, if you hold on to something, like you can only hold like 2 quarters really, really tight, right? But if you have a handful that's open, now you can hold a lot more money in there, right? You can hold a lot more things. So the more you hold on to things, the less you're going to have. And now they're starting to kind of realize that, like, okay, now it's more about giving up some of the power that we don't need to fight over everything, right? And we'll have more out of it.
Oh, I love this. This is very cool. So your job is really more to be the referee, but only when you need to be.
Yeah.
Right? And so I guess I'm thinking a few things. Like from a business model standpoint, it's always a good idea to remove yourself. So that's good business just for you in general. And then I wonder what scaling looks like. So like as you expand, at what point do you need what do you call yourself? An instructor? A guide? You call yourself a guide. That's
guide.
What you sent me, and I like that. And so is it just you're the guide and then your wife is doing admin kind of stuff? Is that...
Yep. And actually she's taking over for me right now. So
as the guide,
she does that.
Guiding while you're at the show.
Yeah.
Are they listening to us right now? Maybe on the radio. Do you want to give a shout out to the kids?
They're awesome. Yeah.
So it's just you and your wife being guides, and this is like your, full time. Are you guys doing anything else right now, or?
Yeah, we're wild. So she's actually doing some nurse practitioner stuff as well.
Wow.
So that's her full-time gig. And then, we bounce in here for this. So for me, it's the guide stuff, is a full 40. And then I obviously have to do a lot of admin stuff as well. So we're both kind of putting in that extra work on in the evenings, Saturdays, and stuff like that.
I told you I'll talk about myself if you let me. My wife and I are both self-employed. And so I definitely know that world of running it together. We run a few businesses together, and it's kind of that push and pull. You have that, or is because you said your wife is doing the admin, or are you? It's
specific parts of the admin. Like she's always she's checking on me a lot, you know, and it's not like she's micromanaging, but it's like, can we do this better? Can we, you always have to be reflecting, and it's like,
absolutely,
she's going to see things like, I'm so in the weeds that it's so hard to be like, you know, what am I missing here? Right. And so she can kind of look back. And so we, you know, and then obviously the second thing to kind of catch her back is we're always meeting with parents, and that's a huge part too, where it's like, what are you guys seeing?
Parents who want to interview you to bring you in, or you mean the parents of the
who
kids?
Are already there,
okay.
and the parents who are also.
I mean that meeting process has to be nonstop. I mean that's a whole other job in and of itself.
Yeah, it's like tours all the time. You know, like getting people going and stuff, pitching our school and really trying to sell them but unsell it, because I don't want to promise something. Like, it's a tough challenge, right? You've got to trust your child to be sitting there setting their own goals throughout the day, that they're going to get so much core skills done, like reading, writing, arithmetic stuff, right? Math. So they're setting their own goals every day, and you've got to trust them to do it. And then if they not, it's like all three of us kind of in there. Well, what's going on here? Where's the struggle at? And so we're constantly meeting, and you know, every 6 weeks we have like a big exhibition and get to show like all the stuff that we did. But they're very much a part of it. It's a huge community where it's like you have to be engaged. It's a lot. So I kind of sell them the pretty picture, but then I also say, like, if you're not ready for it, if they're not ready for it, like it, you know, let's be real about it. You know,
physically, where are you located? Like, what's the spot that you're at?
Right by Ellen Hopkins. So we're just like kitty corner in Christ the King Church.
I don't know where I knew that. Like, what's the address?
Yeah, it's 1900 14th Avenue South.
In
14th Street. Yeah.
In Moorhead. In Moorhead.
Yep.
Oh, you guys are in Moorhead.
We are, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And is there a reason for that, as far as maybe government assistance or regulations, anything?
Yeah, it was easier. So in order to do it in North Dakota, you have to have a license for every single subject, basically.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, I came from, you know, education.
Wow.
I had my social studies education degree and stuff, but I wasn't going to go and, you know, I have a computer science degree. I don't want to go and get licensed for it as well, right? You know, I have certain things, you know, credentials and stuff, but I didn't want to make it all about trying to get it. If somebody wanted to learn Latin, I didn't want to say, like, you can't learn it because we don't have a teacher, right? So now, probably, you know, who knows if anybody's going to get that, but you have to every step. And then for middle school and high school is where that really impacts, because, you know, for the most part, they're self-driven. It's very, you know, it's kind of almost homeschoolish, right?
Yeah.
So they get to drive their own stuff, you know.
Because when I think, you know, homeschool, and that's something, you know, I've looked into a little bit, and as I understand it, oh boy,
getting some work out there.
Well, we got workers outside. We are trying to run a live radio show here, though. Oh boy, I hope that's not getting picked up. The mics have really low pickup, so here's hoping for usable audio quality. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Tell them to go away.
Well, they're just painting. I think they're putting that up. Okay. Sorry for that.
They got to feed their families. Yeah.
North Dakota is a lot better for homeschooling than Minnesota, isn't it? Or are they both pretty great?
No, I don't think. North Dakota is very interesting. So
good is an interesting word.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have used a word like good. Easier to just spin up. No,
So we thought about trying to go through like the homeschooling type co-op route.
Yeah.
And they were like we were told homeschooling co-ops were illegal a little bit. So we were like, oh, that's interesting. So it was a lot harder on that side of things. And that was kind of where we like shifted and said, you know what, we'll have a little more freedom over here. It's going to operate the same way no matter what. We can hit every compliance. That's fine either way. So, you know, Minnesota has like standardized testing and things like that we have to do and check all the boxes and stuff. But for the most part, it really kind of came to like, yeah, we could do it over in Fargo. We were so close to doing it over in West Fargo, but then we shifted over to Moorhead just because, I mean, they were a lot more open to us. So that helped a lot.
Do you physically live in Fargo though yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, but wow, but you started this business over in Minnesota. So if you know, and I so like I said, my wife was the one who come up with this, and so I've got very selfish reasons. My questions are multiple levels, and I'm imagining my 6-year-old, who, like I said, is very bright, and we have been looking into the opportunity, and you know, what is, as far as like, if I take my 6-year-old out of North Dakota public school and put her in a Minnesota private school, is there an issue with that as far as any regulations or any?
No. I mean, Park Christian and there's other schools over there, so it's all the same. We pull the records from the school. We got some Fargo families, West Fargo families, And so it's just, send us over the records if you have any, and then we communicate with the superintendent of Minnesota, or Moorhead, so we just send everything over up to them and tell us if you need anything else. So, and
Okay.
they've been good to work with.
So there's no hassles with North Dakota kids coming over.
No.
And trying to, okay. Yeah. And so I kind of want to move backwards. I'm all over the place because I'm really excited about this idea. This is so brilliant, and I really, really like it. I've had similar thoughts of my own, frankly. Education is very cool. And I want to know more about how you started this up. But I want to do a little bit, because I'd asked, at what point do you get a second guide or a third guide? Do you have a sense of the scalability? Like, once I have 10 kids, 20 kids, it must be economically related as well. Like,
yeah. So the next steps would be probably get maybe somebody who's part-time, so I can kind of teach them as we go a little bit, but not have to, be overwhelmed with a lot of stuff. So next year we're looking at maybe a part-timer, and then the following year would be like a full-timer probably, because next year with 15, a lot of the discoveries are very independent. If I can leave the room a lot of times, and if something else is supposed to start, they can start it up because the challenges are posted. Everything's posted. They can figure it out. Like, oh, we need to be here once. And I remember the first time that happened, where I was like, I had to take a phone call, at a certain time, and it was like we're just approaching 1 o'clock, and it's not bells and whistles, but there is a schedule there, right?
yeah.
And so they just kind of open up the challenge on our tracking system, and they just started getting to it. And I come back, and I was like, well, this is exactly what's supposed to happen. But, they take so much charge of their own education to be able to do that. So they're very self-sufficient. I'm there as kind of, like you said, like a referee and also like a coach, right? Because sometimes they'll ask us, I didn't do this right, or I kind of did this, I kind of did that. Is that okay, right?
Yeah.
And we're Socratic based, so I don't answer questions for the discoverers. So I just, ask them, is this the best work you can do? Or I ask them questions that, and I try to not do it in a condescending, like, is this your best? But it's a way like, well, let me ask you this, is this your best, or do you want to take another stab at it? A lot of the challenges are kind of a little bit up for interpretation. So it's just kind of like, if someone sends a requirements list for you, you're going to fill them through, like whether it's like the FDA approval guide of a lot of things, or different, whatever it is we work with. You're kind of like just doing your best, and then get a little bit of feedback, kind of go from there. But
still, it's got to be, it's not completely improv every single day, right? Because of the state standards, it's got to be more like jazz, because we got to hit certain notes, right? Like how is it that you're finding those notes, or it's just maybe incorporated in the challenges, or what are you doing if certain kids are maybe not ready to play that tune? I'm trying to stretch that analogy, but anyway, what do you do with the kids who are falling behind? Because you can't. At a certain point, you got to crack the whip. No.
I'd probably never say crack the whip. Yeah. So, obviously, I think the biggest thing is it's a lot of prepping. It's a lot of trying to make sure that the challenges are engaging enough so that they're there for that, right? And so a lot of it's not about, it's kind of meeting them where they're at, right? So if they're some of them are, start behind or whatever, that's fine. We just got to get better, right? And so how are we going to do this? A lot of it's effort-based, right? If you're putting in the effort, that's fine. But that's where making sure we have the right families and the right learners, where it's like, they're showing up, they don't want to do anything. It's kind of like, well, we need to have a conversation about this. And I always look at it as like this: the school's an invitation, right? It's all about inviting you. And if you want to show up, right? Do it that way. But we set guardrails. So I set like a minimum, like, you have to have 2 hours of math a week. You have to have 2 hours of reading in the software.
And how do you quantify that?
A lot of them just track time, right? So it's
they
specific,
do.
Yeah. So software can track the time. Sometimes there's some programs that are more concrete. Like we use a program called Waseco. It's more just hands. It's off the computer for reading, and they just track their time. And it's an honor system. They have other people kind of watching out for them. They watch out for each other to make sure nobody's cheating on that. Because it does kind of come back to that power authority thing where, if they can call somebody out on something, they want to show that they're participating, and I see you, that's the thing. It's like, it's about that. So
how are you? Gosh, I'm well past the what. I have so many questions because this is such fascinating to me, and we've got maybe 20 minutes left. And I got to get to the how on here, but what's your policy on screens? So I don't know what it is, and I haven't been able to articulate it. So maybe it's a short little tangent, but like there's something about the handheld screen personally that I feel is somehow extra malicious, and I don't know what or why it is. Do you give them pads, or are they working on like a computer monitor or laptops or at all, or what's the?
No, they have Chromebooks, so essentially, and it can flip into a tablet or whatever, so touchscreen and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they know exactly where they're supposed to go. I've minimally caught them on anything, like as far as like going to try to play a game or something like that. They're very honorable in what they do. I've probably less than 5 times been like, okay, you can't be on math games or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So that's all good. I can track everything and see where they're at, and there's a lot of stuff that's blocked. So it's like, if it gets down to it, like I have the admin access to be like, you know what, we just won't do this site anymore. And it's like, if you guys want to abuse it, and they know, so they're like, well, I'm not going to do this when I can't do it, because then on Friday we have like a scholar's choice, kind of more gamified. If you guys want to do something, you guys hit your goals for the week, go ahead, play around, find a game to play, right? And so they know what's at stake there. If they lose it, right, we can't play this anymore. So
what do you have as far as, is there much competition in this field? I mean, gosh, I feel like you're not really directly competing with the public schools because you're not anything like that. Or do you feel like that's your competition? And then, of course, there's all the public schools, and I know nothing about them, but I feel like they're more schooling type, whereas this is almost an unschooling approach. Or you said you're connected to some academy or some organization.
So Acton Academy, and they kind of write themselves up.
Acton?
Yeah, Acton, right?
Okay.
So after Lord Acton, who was the guy, right? Kind of with the motto, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Oh, he's the guy who said
thing.
that. Yeah, okay. Yep.
So the guy who started this was a top business professor out of Texas, and I think he was like top 12 in the nation. And that's where he kind of switched over from his kids going from a Montessori. He was like, when do I get them into public school? And, this was a top teacher in the state. And he's like, well, honestly, you should probably get them in as soon as you can, because once they're in the desk, and if they experience freedom too much and then you put them in a desk and they're stuck there all day, like they're going to remember that and struggle through that, because they're like, well, I was free and now you kind of chained me up, right? So Acton Academy is the whole idea, and they kind of write themselves off as they kind of took a Montessori and adapted a little bit. So it's a lot of
what's Montessorian though? What's that? Pretend I know nothing.
Project. It's a lot of them are project-based learning. Some of them, not so much, but mixed age groups. Obviously, like if you go to work, I don't know how many people are your exact age. Not a lot. So it's kind of weird that we pair everybody together. Like you're 16, you're with all the other 16-year-olds. You're 8, you're with all them. So.
And that is, I mean, it's worth focusing on that. Like in the real world, do you segregate by exact age, or do you segregate by talent, skill, and other things? Right? Like, or just So
it's individualized learning, kind of mixed age learning. Everybody's going at their own pace for math, and a lot of the course skills. They come back together for a project, and every Montessori is a little bit different, but it's a lot of learner driven. It's a learner driven model, right? So Acton kind of took that and added a lot more to it, and then created a network around it. It's more entrepreneurship based. We do a business fair every fall, and so that's kind of the goal, is to create that. And then as they adapt and as they grow out of this, and they're in the middle school and high school, that's where we focus on apprenticeships, right? So they're actually trying to get their foot in the door, giving somebody an email, hey, can I get a 5-minute phone call? Okay, now I got the 5-minute phone call. I'm not going to come in and meet you in person. Great. Now can I get an apprenticeship, right? Something along those lines.
Yeah.
And that's where it's more like, let them be ready once they graduate high school, that they can do anything. If they want to go to college, great, thumbs up. If they want to go, into realty, thumbs up, go do, so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so now it's time to move into the more of the how. I mean, how... So because in your intro, you kind of gave a little bit of a glimpse into it. You were already a teacher, so you had worked inside of the academy and inside of the schooling system. What was your you taught?
Well, so I was a paraprofessional for 4 years, and I was and I got to observe a lot.
Yeah,
and I sat here and I was like, thinking about it, and this was a while ago, but it's kind of like everything looks the same. It's so structured. It's in it's a very and teach, they've got a serious challenge of, you have 55 million kids. How are you going to do this, right?
Yeah.
So I get it. Like, I'm not here to rag on them, because you have to do it somehow.
Well,
and whatever way that is, like, I know that I can do a really good job with 50 kids or less. You know, we can small and just take a chunk and say, you know what, we'll set that. So I was there for 4 years, and
as a paraprofessional.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and paras, you don't have to have a teaching license for that then. So
no, you don't. Yeah.
Okay. But then, did you get a teaching license eventually?
I did. Yeah, I did. So I graduated with it. Fargo Market stuff. There's a lot. I mean, and that's the thing. Fargo Market has a lot of good teachers.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's a teaching problem as much as I think it's more of like, how do we equip the learners? It's I look at
the system.
Yeah.
The system. I mean, the system is not. It's not designed, like we said, we discussed about the Prussian school model, it's a different kind of an animal. It's for making factory workers, not making entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So
it's very much, I look at it as no different than like a cell signal to a cell phone, right? If you can upgrade the teaching all you want, and and if that cell signal is stronger and stronger, but if you don't upgrade the phone to get 4G, 5G, and you level that up, you're still going to be getting terrible quality, right? So you've got to upgrade the phone, right? And that's what we're trying to do with the learners, right? It's our motto is kind of learn to learn, learn to be, and learn to do, right? So we're all about upgrading them because, the teachers do a good job. If you had to sit in there for a lesson, you could probably do a good job learning the one time. The problem is it's repetition, and then like you're disengaged more and more every year, and things go down.
That's not going to work. All right, time for me maybe get on a little horse. AI is coming. Yeah. So I do real estate. I also do work for the SBDC through the SBA. So this small business stuff is very much in my wheelhouse, and I love it. And we're going to be having a conference coming up June 10th on AI. And I've been focusing a lot on AI and thinking about that. And, of course, that's going to have huge, huge ramifications for education down the road. And I think that's going to be the death knell for the old school systems. I think your education system that you are building right now, and I'm not trying to fluff you up or anything here, but I think that is the solution to AI. Because I had one friend, he sent me, and I got a little trying to use a soft word, I turned into a jerk real quick because he sent me, he was like, look how people are using AI to write essays. And I was like, so?
Stop making them write essays.
Stop making them write essays. And he was like, but they're not going to learn how to write essays. Well, no, hold on. Since adopting AI, and I was probably an early adopter, I've been using it a couple of years now, I've become a stronger and better writer and communicator because, I can just say whatever I want to a human and they can go whatever, but the computer, you must articulate it. It will not pick up on your vibes. You need to articulate things. So AI does that because it's not about memorizing the answers. Yeah. Because of AI, it's not about having the answers anymore. Because of AI, the new power to develop is how to have the right questions. Right. And it sounds like that's exactly what you guys are developing.
Yeah, no, I think that is a good way of putting it. It's about asking the right question. It's the same thing when people start learning, what was it, Ask Jeeves back in the day? And it's like Google, it's like, how do I articulate this in a meaningful way? I don't think most people are typing in a full question into Google anymore. They're just, give me the 3 snippets. I need Fargo. I need private schools. Go. Let me bring it down to that. So same with ChatGPT and AI or whatever it is, it's kind of like, how can I articulate this, get the most, if you get a bad answer back, guess what? Go check your input again. Because you probably kind of set it up for failure. But
yes,
we definitely need to adopt. I mean, kind of going back to the whole Prussian thing, it's like it's been 100 years now plus, right? And how have we shifted? We've had 2 insane revolutions here now where it's like we have the tech, right, with just the beginning of internet and everything else, and then we've got now like Google and just knowledge of everything at ChatGPT where it's like we haven't shifted at all really that much, minuscule in a lot of ways, and that's where it's like it is a system thing, and I don't know,
need something new, and you are on the cusp of it. And so I guess maybe I want to come back to the other question, which is is there anybody else doing this micro school, small group, very free? Like you said, there's Montessori schools out there. Are they as free? Because it sounds like you're intentionally very unstructured. Almost sounds like the unschooling thing. I told you I've been familiar with some of this stuff. It sounds like unschooling. Is it similar to that?
It is, and we kind of read I read one of the unschooling principles. It just kind of gives a more kind of broken down version of like, these are the 300 things that we focus on, this and this and this, right?
Yeah.
And kind of blend them together. Kind of the abridged version. So yeah, I don't think there's anything like us completely. Definitely not. Nothing close. Montessori is probably as close as it gets, but I still think, from what I've heard, is a lot of them around here at least are very still structured, and it's like you've put all the learners together, but you haven't, adapted and shifted a lot completely from there.
I think it's astonishing that you're just out there doing this on your. I mean, it's just you're kind of a 1.5 man band because your wife doing other work, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I mean, is there anything else out there at that scale? I mean, is that normally how schools start up? I mean, you're a startup, right? This is your first year.
Yeah.
Do we normally have school startups? I can't even imagine doing something like that. Like,
I mean,
do you know?
Not on a micro school level, because I think about, Capstone Classical, right, and how they started. And they got, how many investors and everybody together, and they're already building a castle right over there. So it's like, but I mean, there you have to have a lot of fundraising, where we're a small grassroots thing where, let's try to get 20 people. Like, let's keep this small.
Get them in the room first and get them. Oh, man. Yes. And so so you were doing the paraprofessional thing, which is, I'm not trying to denigrate the position,
no.
but I kind of wanted to shoehorn in there, and it's easier to get in, so you're not jumping through the same kind of hoops. Like, you're doing the paraprofessional, you're looking at that, and you didn't say to yourself, you did say to yourself, I want to get a teaching license. So your plan was to move up and then teach in the system. Well, or where did that?
Yeah, so kind of how that fell off was essentially what I'd seen was I was. I had graduated college, had the teaching license, everything was ready to go. And here, if you don't want to get a job, go get a social studies degree, because like that's where it's like you have so many applications. It's tough, and it's a doggy. Like I said, there's so many.
I have a communications degree, so I feel you. Yeah. I feel you. I feel like the academy let a lot of us down, setting us down to those kinds of degrees where there's a lot of competition.
Yeah, and I mean it kind of It's an interesting thing because they say, like, do something you want and love, and you'll never work a day in your life. And I was like, that could be a little too true, actually, but it was.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I've never twisted it like that because I complain a lot about
it's a pessimistic view. No,
I have. I'm very. It doesn't take much to. I'm very bitter about my experience with university and the guidance that I received. So, when did you get the teaching degree, though? It was after the para work.
No, that was before, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Before, yeah.
So you got the para work
yeah.
with a teaching license.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
so
okay. Because most paras don't have a teaching license,
right.
Or do they?
Probably 90% don't.
Okay.
Yeah, something. Or they're people trying to get in, right? So it's like,
I
work at the school and stuff.
I see.
And
because
so
it's very political, and I don't mean like left-right politics.
Right.
I mean like internal politics.
Yeah, and that stuff. Yeah.
And that's why I love to teach. Like more than anything in my life, I love teaching. I've created opportunities to teach here, there, and everywhere. But I don't know that I could ever work inside the school system, university or school. Like I've never even thought about it because I'm so like anti being told what to do. That is just amazing. So you're doing that for 4 years, and then at what point do you say you're going to hang out a shingle? What's in between there, or is that?
Yeah, so I was like, you know what? Let me just take a break. Let me go sell some phones. At Verizon.
Wow.
I was like, let's do that for a little bit. I'm going to go back, and I'd already been teaching myself to program. I already kind of like before 4 years was up, I was already like, let me teach myself programming and kind of get that going. And pretty much actually almost when I graduated, because I knew the epiphany hit where I was like, oh, there's 600 applications just kind of waiting in queue for a social studies job. And I was like, all right, as I'm like walking across the stage, I'm like, I've already got the next plan kind of going at that point. So I started teaching myself programming, went to Verizon, sold phones for a little bit, and then went back for a computer science degree as if, bashing the college system or whatever. It wasn't enough. I was like, let me just get taken advantage of again. Yeah. But did work for some software
you
companies.
Went out, went back in. Yeah. Well, for whom did you work? Like Microsoft here in town, or?
So Codilation and then OnSharp. Yeah.
Oh.
And then we started the school and it went there.
Yeah.
So,
guess Codilation, they teach coding, don't they?
No, Codilation was just a custom software company. Yeah.
Okay. So. And so you did those. You didn't care for those, or where was it? I wanted. You mentioned it in the opening, but I really want to picture the conception of the idea.
So I just started Codilation. Like I just graduated and just started software engineering, where that was like probably a month in. I don't know. My wife, and then she was like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And that's when I was like, "Great!" As if like I didn't just do all this stuff.
Yeah. So it was her. It was her idea, and
Yeah.
she brought it up to you.
Yeah.
And she how did she phrase it, or was it a continuation of some other conversation?
No,
or was
it was like we were just about to go to bed, and she saw somebody she knew, on Instagram, who was also a wedding photographer at some point, started up her school out in, I think, Virginia. And she was like, oh, and so she went down the rabbit hole, and then, we're just about to go to bed. And like, I was like, she asked me this question. I'm like, what? This is the worst time to ask a question. Like, this is a life-changing question. You're asking me, do we want to start a new adventure? And, but sometimes, being married, like, sometimes that's the only time you guys get to talk real quick.
Absolutely. So, you guys have kids?
Yeah, we have 2. Yep.
Oh, okay. How old?
5 and 10.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, so you're at least out of the thick of it. I've been promised.
Yeah.
Kids. So I got 6, 4, and 1. So
Okay,
I've been told it doesn't get easier, but at least you get more time.
I don't know. Our 10-year-old's the toughest one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So it depends on the kid.
Yeah,
more, huh?
probably.
Okay. Yeah. Oh boy. So she's like, should we do this? And you took it very seriously and made that decision right there before you fell asleep, or how?
Pretty much, I was like, yeah, I think that'd be a good idea. And and then I was kind of like, I didn't even know like what it would entail, but like I had all the questions before, like how would I solve all this mass education? How would I do it? I kind of thought in my own mind, like I would probably blend English and history a little bit more. I'd blend science and math, because you can squeeze stuff down and get more out of it and be like, we don't need to be there for 6-7 hours.
You had been ideating this for years. It's been kind of a topic in your mind.
Yeah. And then we kind of lucked into it, where it was like, this was the sign. Here it is. This is Acton Academy. Okay, well, what is Acton?
Well, how did you come across that? That was the Instagram that she had seen, or what?
It was somebody who started up theirs in Virginia. And so then we started.
So she was just randomly on Instagram.
Yeah, seeing her friend's account. Yeah,
I mean, it was her friend, so it's somebody she knows.
Yeah,
and they were very successful, starting some Virginian Acton Academy.
Yeah.
And she was like, I know you just have a new job, like a third job in the last 3 years kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And she's like, how about we throw all that away and just start something new while we have a 9-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's the kind of woman you're married to.
That is,
yeah. What's that like? Because my wife is married to that kind of man, so I'm doing that to my wife every night too.
Well, it's great if you don't like sleep. Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah,
But you just took it and run with it though.
Yeah, and usually I'm like hyper analytical about everything. Obviously, with this like software engineering mind, it's kind of like that's kind of what you do. You're like, let me ask 47 questions, and I swear I don't remember this as well as she does, but like. Which I'm usually good at remembering, but I thought I was like, didn't I ask some questions? And she's like, no, you were like on board right away. And I was like, I just, was I though? Like, yeah. So and we learned, and like, there's a book, Courage to Grow, that the founders wrote. The founders, there's Jeff and Laura Sandifer, who they are. So they've been on a lot of podcasts and kind of stepping down, but. So she wrote Courage to Grow. We read the book, and I started going through, like, okay, what does this look like? And then you're still kind of actually like wondering, but what does this actually do? Can you really trust it? If I let them set their own goals and say, like, here's kind of the baseline, they can kind of work on their own every day and, like, kind of be in and out. Like, I'm just going to do math today, and tomorrow I'm going to do reading. And
that was all new to you at the time.
Yeah, because, like,
wow.
I remember when we first had our first kid, and she talked to me about Montessori, and I was like, that sounds like made up, I was like, that was like, are you serious about,
Yeah. Before this, I mean, obviously your kids must be in your school.
Yeah.
Before this,
Get them out.
That would be a problem. So that's great. You get to see your kids every day. Hey,
it is. Yeah.
That is amazing. I can't, I'm jealous on that. Were they in public school, or did you have them in a private school prior to that?
They were both in public school. So, and we had this plan to try to launch. I mean, the first time we were going to do it, it was like probably February, or, March or something like that. And we're like, well, we can try to do it this fall. And then we realized you can't do this in 6 months. We gotta slow it down. And then the next year was like, we'll do it in Fargo. We kind of had everything prepped up. And then I was like, we better just check everything one more time. And like, that's where I was like, it's just going to be better and more.
So you didn't start. Gosh, I would have started with the place.
2 years ago.
You didn't start with the regulatory structure. You started with.
We started with it. But we had everything set up, and then it was kind of like we started realizing, like, okay, middle school, we're going to need a teacher for every single subject. And that's where we were like, and we started kind of getting down there. It's like, what are we going to do, right?
And Minnesota doesn't push you into that. You know, it's strange because it's, you know, I often call it like West Fargo and East Fargo, like East Germany, West Germany kind of a thing. Because and so often, and that's a real struggle, is that like the businesses they just jump right over the river. But there's a few things where Minnesota is much better. So like massaging, if you want to be and they hate massage, but physical therapist, if you want to help people with that, that's much easier to get into. Education, I would not have thought, and it's just so much.
No, I mean, it blew as like, you know, because obviously, we are more of like a you know, a red state where it's like you'd think it'd be like, oh yeah, you know, whatever, but no, they were pretty strict on it and stuff, and then, you know, like Moorhead and Minnesota was like, nope, just follow these guidelines.
You can't just do a homeschooling co-op. And what was it like? What was it like rustling up those first 8 students? Like, what was that process like? Who did you ask first?
Setting events and just constantly getting coffees and like, okay, we have to go out and like tell people, right? And we'd have some events, and some people like, you know, Acton Academy's got their website where they've already say like, here's our schools, our operating schools, and so that's where some people found us through that. Some people, you know, found us just kind of word of mouth, and as we've kind of grown, we're getting more inquiries, more people asking, more people trying to figure out like, what does this look like? Because again, even as like an owner setting everything up, it was kind of still like, you were still like, what is this actually going to look like when you set them and let them run their thing? You still kind of like didn't quite know, you know, and that was it was a scary, you know, situation, but we've thrived. So
so this is your first year. So you've done a first full year, because do you do the summer break, or how's that all?
We're doing summer camps it's less learning. It's, you know, I shouldn't say less learning, but it's less like core skill learning. So it's more like projects. Like first 2 weeks we're doing like a STEM and Lego type thing. And then we're doing, you know, some outdoor like nature 2-week type stuff, and then, you know, kind of every 2 weeks something. But it's more just kind of general, like let's have fun, kind of do something. The challenges are a little more laid back, so that's pretty full. Those are, you know, we get, you know, 15, 20 kids per 2-week session. So
your first year is done though, and so like you even that's so. I mean, that is amazing. That even halfway skeptical, you opened up and you know, not entirely sure how this is going to work out, which is I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
That
I think you come in. I mean, everybody's got a hero's journey. That's where they pitch it a lot. It's a hero's journey. Can you like you're going to come up in challenges, and like, I mean, even as a realtor, I'm sure you probably figured that out. Where it's like, I have a challenge where it's like, I did not anticipate this coming, right? The foundation cracked, and now this person's not ready to move, and whatever it is, right? Where it's like, you've got a challenge, and like, you've just got to figure it out. Trying to figure out, like, working with the fire marshal, can we get this, you know, look at this. We got zones, coding, all the stuff, and it's like, you just got to figure it out, right? And like, you can look at through. That's where like AI has been a little bit of a helpful, where it's like, okay, I need to know like, what all stuff do I need for, you know, I'm at my EIN, whatever, things that's starting up a business where you're like, you know, I wouldn't have known, but
you've never done anything entrepreneurial before this? I mean, you don't have a background in entrepreneurship?
I joked with my friend who started up his business, and I was like, just tell me what to do. Like, that's kind of what I want for my job, right? I never worked for him or whatever, but we were talking. I was like, dude, I like super proud of you for doing this, but I could never do it, right? It's my joke, and I kind of go back on that as a joke, where it's like my wife kind of, you know, pushed me and encouraged us into this moment where I was like, I just want to be told what to do and just like not have to worry about a lot of this stuff.
Entrepreneurship doesn't really work that way.
No, No, it's like, okay, I got to figure out the next thing. What about this? What about that? You know, and you're thinking about 87 things. And so that's just been wild. Yeah. Never did. My wife did more of the wedding photography at her own.
Yeah.
Her own
that's a lot closer to being an entrepreneur for sure. And she still does that while she's
no, she gave that part up, like, because, you know, you like your weekends in the summer.
Well, and especially when you've got the kids and stuff, right? Well, I told you it would go quick. That's the show. Can you believe it's been an hour?
You made it easy,
because that's the kindest compliment you can give. So thank you. One more time, please plug yourself. Tell everybody how they can find you, get a hold of you.
Yeah, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, LinkedIn, if that's your thing too. But you can find us at odyssey-fm.com. You reach out to us. You can schedule a tour. You can call us up, and we'll hit you back.
And of course, I'm Conrad Fargo. You can find me anywhere you can type in the words Conrad and Fargo. There I am. Michael, have you ever heard of a little website called Amazon.com?
Just a little bit, yeah.
Well, if you go there and you type in Conrad, I don't come up. But if you put Fargo, I don't come up. But if you put Conrad and Fargo together, do you know what happens?
Tell me.
I'm there. I'm right there. You can buy me, like, share, subscribe. Put me in your ears and listen to me because my guests are amazing. Michael, this has probably changed my life listening to this story. So thank you for sharing it. I think it's very exciting.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much. It means a lot.
I appreciate everybody listening, and we will see you all next week. We didn't even have time to discuss the song that I... your wife vetoed you, but then I undid the veto. So you can, sorry, Michael's wife. But we're going to listen to Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall. Did you listen to The Wall in like the whole album? Are you like a big Floyd?
I'm not that guy. Like I just, you casually listen to
that. The album itself, however long CDs used to be. Remember when you would burn CDs?
Yeah, 80 minutes.
80 minutes?
Yeah,
okay, so then The Wall is 82 minutes long. Something like that, right? And so I actually went in and physically edited it so I could get it all into one CD. And then listened to that probably for 2 years straight. Like just had that in my car and just like I could just start and listen and sing the entire album like from start to finish if I really wanted to. You don't want me to. So anyway, everybody can enjoy The Wall and we will see you all next week. Goodbye.